how y'all raised. I'm not raised like that. So tell your mama dig her up and post a picture that look better than my mama. I want to say something about my mama. Your mama, go dig her up.
That's T.I. with his own son locked in a headlock right there on camera during a live NFL broadcast seen by millions. But that wild moment, that's just the beginning. The real storm started when T.I. decided to go head-to-head with 50 Cent. And what went down between them got so personal, so out of pocket, that the whole rap scene froze in shock. It wasn't just beef, it was war. The culture hasn't seen smoke like this in years. What started as a simple versus challenge between two certified hip-hop icons exploded into one of the nastiest, most cutthroat feuds ever. People's families got dragged, old photos got leaked, even sons got caught in the middle of grown man drama. Nobody was safe. Not moms, not wives, not reputations. Whole legacies were being burned alive in group chats and comment sections. And just when everyone thought these two titans were ready to take their grudge to the grave, T.I. pulled the most unexpected move imaginable.
You are embarrassing yourself and your family. You embarrassing yourself. You are embarrassed.
I said I wanted 50. That's what I said. He don't want no smoke, though.
Oh, Lord.
I called my man out. He don't want no smoke. He duck his smoke.
He reached out and apologized. But hold up, we're not there yet. Because the path to that apology was a battlefield of deleted posts, brutal diss tracks, and family chaos that had even the toughest vets in hip-hop cringing. And if you think the 50 Cent situation is where this story ends, you better stay tuned, because things are only getting messier. See, there's a whole other chapter in this saga, the one that involves T.I.'s own son, King Harris, getting hands-on camera in a clip that the internet just won't stop replaying. But to really understand how things got this wild, we gotta rewind, way back to the early 2000s, when both T.I. and 50 Cent were running the rap game from opposite sides of the map. T.I. was holding it down in Atlanta, repping Bankhead with pride, while 50 Cent was coming straight out of Queens, South Jamaica, both stamped with street credibility that wasn't made up in no studio. For years, it looked like there was mutual respect between the two. They'd cross paths at award shows, festivals, and big industry events with no visible tension. But under the surface, that pressure was building like a pot ready to explode. That's what happens when two alpha dogs share the same jungle, both believing they run it. Neither man was built to play the background, and in a game where every day your rank gets tested by sales, features, and cultural influence, the silent question of who's really the king stayed floating like a storm cloud ready to strike. Fast forward to the versus era, the culture was hungry for legendary face-offs, and that's when T.I. made a bold move. He claimed that while on a TV promo run out in Los Angeles, he and 50 had a private handshake deal. According to Tip, the plan was simple. T.I. would throw down a public challenge, 50 Cent would step up and accept, and the fans would get the ultimate showdown they'd been begging for. Fans had been starving for it. Two legendary catalogs packed with nothing but straight anthems, going hit for hit on a stage built for that kind of musical warfare. But when it came time for 50 Cent to keep his word, according to T.I., the phone went dead silent. No response, no confirmation, just straight up crickets. And in this game, when a man you thought would stand 10 toes down beside you suddenly ghosts, that's not just disappointing, that's a major violation of the code. By February 6th and 7th of 2026, T.I. had clearly reached his breaking point. He pulled up to the Nightcap podcast with Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco, and what came out of his mouth wasn't no light jab. It was a full-blown call-out. The energy in his voice said it all. This wasn't fresh anger. This was frustration that had been simmering for a long time. You could hear it in his tone. He felt betrayed, and he wanted everyone to know it. That clip spread across every social feed within hours. Tip wasn't hiding behind subliminals or whispers. He went straight to a national platform and told the world that Curtis 50 Cent Jackson was ducking the fade. And if you know 50 Cent's history, you already know. He doesn't let that kind of public disrespect slide. Within hours, 50 clapped back on Instagram, digging up old footage from T.I.'s court appearances and pairing it with a meme that hit like a punchline. The post read like a sarcastic PSA, basically saying, forget versus, let's just do the stay away challenge and keep our distance.
Have you ever woke up with a roach on your face?
No, that's not the goal.
All right, then. So there it goes.
I know you. I know you. I know you. I know you. I know you.
Ain't no mystery, man.
I know you though.
the whole internet went crazy, and the feud officially hit a new level. 50 Cent threw a little LOL on top of his post. Classic 50 move. That's his whole strategy. Clown your opponent before the first bar even drops. Turn the battle into a joke before it even starts. But T.I., he wasn't laughing. Not even close. By February 11th, 50 turned the fire all the way up when he went on Instagram and called T.I. King Rat. That hit deep because it dragged up the old snitching rumors that have shadowed T.I. ever since his 2007 federal firearms case. And in hip-hop, that kind of label is brutal. It's worse than being called washed. Once that stain hits your name, no amount of platinum plaques can clean it off. T.I. fired back instantly, and he didn't mince words. He made it crystal clear there was only one man in this situation who could be called a rat, and he had paperwork to prove it. He straight up told 50 to lace up the gloves or keep his mouth shut and live scared. The tension was thick, and fans could feel every ounce of that anger. The online back and forth was wild entertainment, but everyone knew the real heat was gonna come on wax. And when it did, T.I. didn't disappoint. On February 22nd, he hit $1 million worth of game and laid everything bare. Every detail of that private convo, every promise made, every fake move exposed. He explained how they agreed to the battle, how he went public expecting 50 to stand up, only for 50 to act like none of it ever happened. To T.I., that wasn't just weak. That was a straight-up character flaw. Then came the bombshell. The very next day, February 23rd, Ty dropped a diss track teaser called War, making his intentions loud and clear. But he didn't stop there. That same day, he dropped the full track titled The Right One, a record that went places most diss songs wouldn't dare touch. It was bold, raw, and personal, and it sent shockwaves straight through the culture. Those bars hit like a battering ram. Ty wasn't just testing 50's toughness, he was tearing down the whole image that turned Curtis Jackson into a global name. Every lyric hit with precision, aimed straight at 50's legacy. But Tip didn't stop there. The track went even deeper, painting 50's as nothing more than an online troll, a meme page admin, hiding behind his phone instead of facing people in real life. Then came the line that set the internet on fire. I crossed a boundary most rappers wouldn't dare touch, taking a shot at 50 Cent's late mother. That move split the culture in half. Some fans cheered, saying Tip went bar for bar with one of rap's most ruthless wordsmiths, while others said he went way too far, crossing into territory even battle legends stay away from. The timeline was in chaos, arguments everywhere, emotions high. But if T.I.'s lyrics were the earthquake, 50 Cent's next move was the aftershock that blew the whole thing wide open. 50 went on Instagram and posted an unflattering picture of T.I.'s wife, Tiny, captioning it with a sharp warning for Tip to keep my name out y'all mouths. That one post flipped everything. Suddenly, it wasn't just music, it was personal. He broke the one unwritten rule in hip-hop beef: family stays out of it. That's when things truly exploded. T.I. and Tiny's son, King Harris, stepped in with pure fire. Nobody was ready for how fast he moved. He jumped on Instagram Live, voice shaking but filled with emotion, declaring loud and clear, "Nobody was ready for how y'all was raised. I'm not raised like that." King wasn't holding anything back. He made it known that coming for his mama crossed a line that wouldn't be ignored. The whole internet felt that energy. The feud had gone from music to real-life warfare. And then King took it somewhere nobody saw coming. He fired back with a line so wild it stopped the whole internet cold. So tell your mama, dig her up and post a picture that looked better than mama. That one sentence hit like a grenade. A young man telling a billionaire rap icon to dig up his late mother for a side-by-side comparison? It was brutal. The response detonated across every platform. Reposts, reactions, shock emojis everywhere. It was raw, it was vicious, and it was unfiltered. That's when it hit everyone. This wasn't rap beef anymore. This was real pain spilling into public view. King wasn't playing for clicks or chasing attention. He was a son standing on principle, protecting the woman who raised him, no matter the cost. You could hear the pain behind every word. This wasn't a kid trying to write a clever diss. This was emotion, straight from the heart, mixed with fury and pride. He meant every syllable, and it showed. King wasn't letting anyone disrespect his mom without a fight. 50 Cent, being 50, clapped back in his usual way. Through memes, he posted an image comparing King to Pepe the Frog and threw shade at the whole Harris family, calling them ugly. What had started as a deep emotional moment turned into internet comedy overnight, and fans couldn't believe how far things had spiraled. The drama got so intense that even Tina Knowles, Beyoncé's mother stepped in to defend Tiny publicly. Her comment widened the spotlight on the feud and added serious cultural weight. Now it wasn't just about rap beef. It had turned into a full-blown spectacle that had the entire entertainment world watching in disbelief. By this point, the whole internet was holding its breath, wondering if this beef was about to leap off the screen and spill into real life. The tension was so thick you could practically feel it through your phone. But then came the twist nobody expected. By February 24th, 50 Cent switched gears completely, showing he was still in full boss mode. While T.I. was busy firing lyrical shots into the air, 50 popped up on social media flexing in a totally different league. He announced he had just sold out a Broadway production of Joe Turner's Come and Gone, and he did it with that trademark smirk and a shocked face emoji, basically saying, while you're in the booth recording tracks nobody asked for, I'm out here moving real units in arenas you can't even get into. That's a cold move, the kind of flex that doesn't need a single diss track to land because it changes the whole game. Think about the psychology of that. I had just emptied his clip. 2 diss tracks, one of which crossed a sacred line by mentioning someone's late mother. And 50 didn't even bother responding with a verse. Instead, he dropped a Broadway receipt. That's power. That's silence used as strategy. Suddenly, this wasn't about who had the sharper bars. It was about who still had real relevance in 2026. And that question might be one I didn't want the world to answer out loud. But King Harris wasn't backing down. He jumped right back in to defend his father, reminding everyone of 50's long history of public feuds, calling out how he's clashed with Lil Kim, Kanye, and half the industry. King painted him as a man who doesn't move on principle but for attention. He said 50 uses his platform like a weapon, picking a new target every week just to stay trending. And then came February 25th, 2026, the day that flipped everything. The day this feud stopped being a one-way war of words and turned into something nobody saw coming. No warning, no explanation, no caption, nothing. Out of nowhere, 50 Cent wiped every single T.I. related post clean off his Instagram. Every meme, every troll move, every slick caption, gone! Like the whole beef had been erased from history. The internet instantly went into full CSI mode. People were asking, was 50 waving the white flag? Was he gearing up for a bigger move? Did the lawyer step in? Or was something major happening behind the scenes that nobody knew about? Because let's be honest, 50 Cent doesn't just fall back. This is the same man who's gone to war with Ja Rule, Rick Ross, Floyd Mayweather, and smiled through every single round. His whole reputation is built on pressure, not peace. His playbook has always been about pushing things further, not deleting evidence. So when fans saw that his page was suddenly spotless, the culture froze. This was one of the wildest, most unexpected plot twists in modern rap beef history. And that's where the story takes its shocking turn, the moment that led straight to this video. According to sources close to both camps, T.I. made a move nobody had on their bingo card. After days of pure chaos, diss tracks flying, families being mentioned, and memes tearing through the timeline, Tip decided to reach out to 50 directly. But this time, it wasn't through Instagram. It wasn't through the media. It wasn't even through mutual friends. T.I. reportedly picked up the phone himself and made a direct call, man to man. No middlemen, no cameras, no captions. And the tone? Totally different from the fiery energy he'd been spitting online. Sources say the conversation had a whole new vibe. Calm, serious, and real. The word that keeps coming up in every insider account? Apology. Yeah, you heard that right. After all the smoke, all the disrespect, all the public shots, T.I. allegedly called up 50 Cent not to argue, but to apologize. Now hold up. This wasn't some desperate hands and knees type of apology meant to save face. Nah, this was a calculated grown man move, a real acknowledgement that things had gone way too far, that certain lines got crossed on both sides, and dragging mothers, living or gone, into a feud between two men with decades of legacy was beneath everything they'd ever built. Throughout the entire beef, T.I. had made one thing crystal clear. His respect for 50 was gone. He said it publicly, with his chest out, that he didn't respect 50 Cent anymore and didn't ever want to share a stage with him again. But there's a difference between losing respect for someone and letting that hate grow into a full-on wildfire that scorches everything in its path. And T.I., a man who's maneuvered through federal charges, served real time, and managed to rebuild his career more than once, knew exactly what was on the line. He started to realize this wasn't just about 50's reputation anymore. This feud was turning nuclear. and it was about to burn down everything. Not just him and 50, but his son King, his wife Tiny, and anyone connected to them. It wasn't just music beef now. It was family, legacy, and pride on the line. So, for a man like Tip, who's always built his name around protecting his circle, the math had to shift. He had to think smart, not emotional. And right there, the timing says it all. The moment 50 wiped his page clean lined up perfectly with this behind-the-scenes truce. Because if you're 50 Cent, the king of petty himself, and the same man who's been throwing lyrical punches at you for 3 straight weeks suddenly reaches out with an olive branch, you don't clap back with another meme, you pause, you calculate. You make your move in silence. You clear the battlefield. You wipe the slate clean. You make space for whatever comes next. Peace, business, or maybe just the calm after chaos. Whatever the motive, one thing's for sure. Neither T.I. nor 50 Cent has fired a single shot since February 25th. And that silence speaks volumes. For two men who are posting nonstop for weeks, multiple times a day, the sudden quiet feels loud. The stillness itself has become part of the story. But of course, the skeptics didn't waste a second jumping in. They're pointing out that T.Y.'s final album, Kill the King, is dropping soon. And now everyone's wondering, was this entire saga, from the Verzu's call-out to the diss tracks to the so-called apology, all one massive, carefully orchestrated promo play? Could Tip have engineered the whole storm just to reignite the spotlight right when he needed it most? Fans definitely noticed the timing. The second T.I. started teasing his swan song project, boom! A headline-making beef with 50 Cent pops up out of nowhere like a magician's trick. And honestly, the theory holds some weight. Hip-hop's history is stacked with manufactured feuds, the kind that boost streams, move merch, and crank up album sales. And T.I., he's too smart, too seasoned, and too experienced in this game not to understand exactly how that machine works. Every meme, every diss, every fiery post turned into free promotion, free headlines, free engagement, free attention for a project that hadn't even dropped yet. In today's industry, that's marketing genius, messy but effective. Still, no matter what the motive was, whether it came from a genuine place of reflection or a well-timed chess move, that apology happened, and it meant something. Because in a culture where egos rarely bend and pride runs the show, seeing a man who was winning the public battle suddenly choose to step back instead of shoving the whole thing off the cliff, that's rare. It's the kind of twist that reminds everyone, even in the chaos of hip-hop warfare, sometimes the strongest move is knowing when to stand down. According to the Black Wall Street Times, the feud had gotten deeply personal by February 20th. And that's where things got real dangerous. Because when it comes to 50 Cent and personal beefs in hip-hop, history's shown us they rarely end with peace. They usually end with pain. So for T.I. to choose communication over confrontation, that might have been the smartest, most mature move in the whole saga. It takes way more heart to step back and de-escalate than it does to keep firing shots. But here's the thing. The 50 Cent drama wasn't the only moment where T.I. found himself in a situation that turned physical, messy, and public. Because before the Verzu's chaos, before the diss tracks and deleted posts, there was another scene that had nothing to do with rap beef and everything to do with something far more personal. 2 years earlier, in 2023, a whole different kind of tension exploded. One that didn't involve fame, money, or rivals, but family. It was a moment caught on camera that showed a raw, unfiltered side of T.I. Not the rap legend, but the father. And what went down at that Atlanta Falcons game on November 26, 2023 still hits deep to this day because it taps into something real. The struggle every father faces trying to guide a son who's desperate to prove he's already grown. It was supposed to be a chill day, just a family outing. Falcons versus Saints, good seats, good energy, everything looking smooth. Earlier that morning, T.I. was all smiles on social media, posting clips with his kids, hyping up the game, doing that proud dad thing at the stadium. It looked like nothing but love. But what nobody knew was that underneath that family fun, something had been brewing for a long time. Father and son tension, pride versus patience, love versus frustration. And that peaceful stadium moment, it was about to flip on camera in a way that had the entire internet talking and questioning what it really means to raise a young man who thinks he's already a king. Everything looked picture perfect. Just another Sunday in Atlanta. A celebrity family chilling in a luxury suite at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, enjoying the Falcons game like any other proud hometown crew. But then, everything changed the moment King Harris hit Go Live on Instagram. What the world saw next was something nobody expected. A father and son going from a heated argument to hands-on in seconds. The camera wasn't meant to catch that. Or maybe it was, because King made the decision himself to stream that moment for the world to see. And once that red light flashed on, there was no taking it back. That live video instantly became the clip that reshaped how the world saw his relationship with his dad. What unfolded in that suite wasn't just about pride or temper. It was a full-on clash between generations. T.I., a man who clawed his way up from struggle and survival, was trying to drive home a point that cut deep. He wanted his son to understand what real hardship feels like, what it means to earn something when the world's stacked against you. So right there, on camera, I pressed King with a question that hit straight at the root of their tension. He asked his son if he'd ever truly experienced the same kind of pain and poverty that built his father into the man he became. Then came the now famous Roach question. And that wasn't random, that was a test. A real challenge to King's tough talk. T.I. was reminding his son, loud and clear, that the streets he came from aren't forgiving, that the same world that once tried to break him would devour King in an instant if he ever tried to play by those rules. It was raw, uncomfortable, and deeply human. A father trying to reach his son before the world teaches him the hard way. Ty wasn't just scolding his son, he was calling out something bigger. He was challenging that whole performative urge to claim hood credentials without ever truly living through the hood. Tip was telling his own blood straight up, wanting to visit the trenches for clout and surviving the trenches are two completely different worlds. One doesn't earn you the right to claim the other. That message came through loud and clear, crystal. In T.I.'s eyes, King's tough guy act was just that, an act, costume play. And hearing that live from his own father on a public stream in front of the world hit deep, because for a young man trying so hard to stand on his own, to be seen as King Harris and not T.I.'s son, that kind of public critique was gasoline on a fire that had already been burning for years. That was the spark that blew everything wide open. What happened next in that Falcon suite turned into a snapshot of how modern families live in the spotlight, where one screen tap can turn a private father-son argument into public entertainment. And King, he didn't back down, not for a second. He didn't shrink, didn't stay quiet, didn't play the obedient son role that most kids raised in fame are expected to. Nah, he pushed back. You could feel the tension through the screen. This wasn't some one-time outburst. This was history boiling over, two generations clashing over what real looks like. The argument was bigger than pride. It was about identity. Was King Harris truly his own man? Or was he just living inside the fortress that his father's money and fame had built? That's where the talk of silver spoons and Nepo baby labels started flying. And for King, that cut deep. Because in that moment, he wasn't just defending his pride, he was fighting for his name. The idea that everything King had was handed to him, that every win was gifted, not earned, cut deeper than any diss track ever could. Because those words weren't coming from a rival or the internet. They were coming from his father, the one man whose approval matters more than anyone else on this planet. You could hear the pain cracking through King's voice as he tried to speak. He wasn't building a calm, logical argument. His words were looping, stumbling, running over each other because his emotions were racing faster than his mouth could keep up. That's not weakness. That's hurt. That's a son trying to make his father see him. King knows who his father is. He's seen the scars, he's heard the stories, he knows I walked through fire that he himself has never touched. But at the same time, King believes in his own identity. He's not trying to be his dad, he's trying to be King Harris. So when his own pops, the man who raised him, goes public and questions his authenticity, it hits like a knockout punch straight to the chest. You can see it in his body language, hear it in his tone. That mix of anger, pain, and desperation colliding all at once. The stuttering, the overlapping sentences, the shaky rebuttals. That's not softness. That's what it looks like when love, pride, and hurt crash into each other in real time. And out of all that chaos came one phrase, the one that would define the entire moment. I stand on business. That became King's battle cry, his line in the sand, his declaration of self. It was his way of saying, I'm not weak, I'm not spoiled, I'm not some rich kid pretending to be tough. It was the sound of a young man demanding to be respected on his own terms, even if it meant standing toe-to-toe with the man who taught him what standing on business really means. Every young man reaches that moment, the one where he's got to look his father straight in the eye and say, "I'm my own man." And that's exactly what King Harris was doing. Only difference? He had the entire internet watching live, screenshots flying across every timeline in real time. What started as a shouting match turned physical in a flash. Someone threw a shove, and just like that, T.I. snapped into full dad mode, locking his son in a tight headlock. It was a move that looked part instinct, part frustration. The kind of grip a man uses when words just ain't working anymore. When talking fails and the only language left is authority, physical, immediate, and real. That was T.'s breaking point, a split-second reaction that became 0.6 seconds of viral footage millions would end up watching on loop. But behind that moment wasn't rage. It was panic, protection, and pain all tangled together. He wasn't trying to hurt his son, he was trying to stop him, to keep King from saying or doing something that would take things to a place they could never come back from. But still, the optics were brutal. A Grammy-winning rap legend, a man who fought his way through the federal system, now caught on camera wrestling with his own child inside a luxury suite at an NFL game. The crowd kept cheering for touchdowns while father and son were caught in their own storm. Tiny King's mother stepped in fast, separating them before things could spiral any further. For a moment, the suite fell dead silent, that heavy, uncomfortable quiet that always hits right after something explosive goes down. And then came the fallout. King hit Instagram stories, posting messages dripping with both pain and pride. He wrote like someone trying to prove he wasn't broken, declaring that nobody could ever run up on him, while also hinting at something deeper. A question that cut to the core. Did his own family see him as a mistake? It was raw, emotional, and impossible to scroll past. A son trying to be heard in a world that just saw him fighting the man who raised him. Those posts didn't stay up for long. King deleted them fast, but by then, it was too late. The internet had already done what it always does: screenshot, repost, archive, and spread every word across gossip blogs, Reddit threads, and hip-hop pages everywhere. The story had gone global before the dust even settled. T.I.'s public response, though, was calm, almost surgical. He told the world to mind its business, making it clear that what happened between him and his son was family business and not open for public judgment. He wanted everyone to know that no matter how wild the footage looked, this was something between a father and his child, not for outside opinions or internet analysts to dissect. And truth be told, this wasn't even the first time they'd clashed in public. Reports dug up a previous run-in at a Waffle House back in 2022. Another heated moment between father and son that hinted at a pattern. A cycle that kept looping. Love, pride, tension, repeat. The same core issue always sitting in the middle like an open wound. King's hunger for independence versus T.I.'s instinct to stay in control. No conversation ever really fixed it. No argument ever truly ended it. The friction just kept coming back. Louder, hotter, more public each time. Even after being physically restrained by his own father in front of millions, King didn't back down. He stayed on go. Still claiming his toughness was real, still rejecting any narrative that painted him as soft or privileged. That consistency, that refusal to bend even an inch, says everything about King's mindset. He wasn't just trying to prove he was hard. He was fighting for his identity, for the right to define himself, his own manhood, his own story, without being trapped inside the shadow of his father's legacy. Because at the end of the day, King Harris wasn't just battling T.I. the father, he was battling T.I. the legend. A man shaped by a kind of struggle his son will never fully experience, but whose shadow he'll always have to live in. And that's what made this feud so heavy. It wasn't just family drama, it was generational conflict playing out for the whole world to see. That tension, that constant push and pull between a father who climbed out the mud and a son who was born above it is one of the realest, rawest dynamics you'll ever see in a family. It don't matter how much money's in the bank or how many awards are on the wall. That generational friction hits every household in some way. It's pride versus love, legacy versus individuality, survival versus comfort. But within days of all the chaos, the tone finally started to shift. T.I. made it clear, no matter what had happened, his love for King Harris never wavered. He posted publicly saying they were tied together like a knot and that he'd ride to the heavens or the depths of the abyss for his family. It was the statement everyone needed to hear, proof that beneath all that fire, the bond between father and son was still real. T.I. even put King's music front and center, showing genuine support for his son's track Father Like Sons with his brother Damani. It was symbolic, a message that even after the world watched them clash, they were still standing as a family. Cracked? Yeah, but never broken. And by 2025, the story came full circle. King dropped a heartfelt post, reflecting on everything that went down and calling himself the man my father raised me to be. He said they were finally seeing eye to eye. That was proof that the viral Falcons game moment, as ugly and uncomfortable as it was, might have actually been the turning point that brought them closer instead of tearing them apart. At the end of the day, that's what this whole story's about. Love, growth, and two men learning to understand each other, not as legend and heir, but as father and son. If you made it this far, show some love. Hit that like button, subscribe for more stories just like this, share it with your crew, and drop a comment. Let's talk about it. What do you think really healed the bond between T.I. and King Harris?